We're talking about cannabis today, y'all. We're talking about cannabis today, y'all. But ultimately, Sessions, Tez Lotto is more than just what you hear. It's more than just cannabis. It's really a community. It can be an innovative experience if you allow it to be. It can be a journey. You know, Tez joined us today on the Down to Business podcast, and he ultimately really took us on a journey. I will really tell you that, you know, he even took us back to July 15th, 2022, and why that was such an important and life-changing day for him. And I would tap into it to see just the same. But then he also told us about, you know, going backpacking 2.5 weeks somewhere, leaving his family and really having to go find himself, because he is a big and firm believer in investing in your mental health, whether it be taking advantage of free resources, whether it be even paying to really make sure that the mental is right. Because when the mental is all out of whack, it messes with everything else. And I will be the first to admit to that. So without further ado, enjoy episode 135, See Through the Smoke.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Down to Business podcast today, man. Got to shout out my cousin, my brother, man. Big shout out to DJ. Somebody who, from the time I started the podcast, one, just showed me a lot of love, showed me a lot of support, put me in position for a lot of things. But two, he's always sending me people, and I've been able to interview a few. Big shout out to my boy Nard, who came on not once but twice to really talk about everything he's doing with Work Nard and Philly EDA. But today, really happy to be sitting down with Tez, man. He reached out to me last week or 2 weeks ago now and was like, hey, I got somebody for you. I want you to connect with him on LinkedIn. I'm gonna send you his website, do all of that. So the next day he put us in a chat because he hit me kind of late. He's on Cali time. So next day he put us in a chat. Tez was really, you know, quick turnaround time, ready to make it happen. When I was going through just the website and the social media, was very impressed and was very, you know, happy to bring him on, because I feel like what he's here to talk about today, a lot of my audience, a lot of my, you know, people who tap in and tune in will be able to resonate with. So very excited to get into all of that. Very excited for y'all to hear what he has to offer with Sessions. So Tez, how you doing today, bro? How's everything on your end?
Man, I'm doing good, bro. Thank you so much for having me on. Happy Sunday to everybody, or whenever this airs, I want to say good day to everybody. But yeah, thank you so much, man.
Most definitely a good Sunday indeed. So yeah, no, very excited to have you, bro. Like I said, I definitely appreciate you, just the willingness to be able to do it. Even had to reschedule, but nonetheless, you still made it happen. So I appreciate that. So for everybody kind of tapping in, I know we're going to have people from an array of different places, some from your side, some from my side, and then some tapping in with us for the first time. Can you, one, just tell us a little bit about yourself? And then can you, two, just tell us what brings you on the Down to Business podcast today?
Sure. So just to keep it very general and succinct, my name's Durantes. I go by Tez. Um, I'm a father for one. I'm an HBCU grad. I'm a partner, soon to be husband. Cross your fingers, y'all. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a professional. I got my start in the career field as a financial professional. So I worked in financial services in banks and for retirement companies and investment companies. My most recent position was at a mutual fund company, but I walked away last year to go full time entrepreneur. And my most recent venture is a black owned rolling paper company that we call Sessions. So Sessions, it's a lifestyle brand, but our flagship product right now is our hemp rolling papers, and that's pretty much what brings me on. Daryl, he thought it was a good, a good avenue for me to come on and just talk to you about, I guess, everyday life, my journey as an entrepreneur, and my story. So that's just to keep it short. That's me.
Perfect. Well, I love that. And as short as you kept it, I definitely do think that you gave us a lot within that. And, you know, one, just wishing you the best of luck moving forward. You will certainly be a husband soon to come. So I love to hear that. But no, nonetheless, something that you said that stuck out very early on was just leaving your mutual fund position to go full time entrepreneur. And I know, you know, I've talked to a host of people who are at different stages in that entrepreneurial journey. Some people who are looking to go full time just haven't made that move quite yet. Some people who are in the beginning stages of going full time, and then some people who are just all at it, just wake up every day, really just live life on their own terms, make their own schedule and everything. So hearing about the industry that you were involved in, hearing what you were doing, I know that, you know, there was definitely some money involved. There were definitely some good benefits, definitely some good connections and things like that. But now thinking about the switch, the transition from what you were, from working at 9 to 5, from working for another company per se, to now fully and fulfilling your dreams. what was really that switch like? I know that it was definitely some adjustments to be made. I know that the lifestyle had to change a little bit. And I know you may have even ran into some roadblocks along the way. So from really going to, what you were doing before to now full time with sessions, how did that transition really play out for you?
So the transition was interesting. It all happened very much abruptly. So just to kind of give a backstory on my career in finances, I studied finance. I'm a first generation college student. Made it all the way through college, graduated with a finance degree, started working at banks and investment companies and things for the last 7 years. So this past July, I kind of reached a point with my mental health, um, and just with my goals and my ambitions and everything just kind of started to, I don't know. Everything just started to kind of come in and convulge in my mind at once, and I had to do a real life assessment as to where I saw myself in the future, the track that I was on currently with my company, and the outlook, and how that all fed into my happiness. So this whole big thing of me leaving my job and everything, it's all centered around happiness, satisfaction, and getting the most out of life, man. I can honestly say that over the 7 years of working in finance, and in the corporate structure, it was a very fruitful career. I made a lot of money. It was awesome. I met a lot of great people. I love what I do because I'm a proponent of financial literacy, especially with me being from my particular background and being like a first gen college student and everything. So I had completed my master's the December before, so it was that 2021 December. I completed my master's at LSU. I got my MBA in international business, um, but I turned that corner, and it was something that I was working hard for. I had reached 3 years in my company, going on four, and just something about my position in life. When I looked at everything, I wasn't as satisfied. I wasn't as content. I wasn't at a place where I saw myself being for a long time. And I'm the type of person, when stuff starts to hit the fan, I like to make strategic decisions, and I like to make them very swiftly and very fast. So I actually put in an effective, immediate um, letter of a letter of what do they call it? A letter of when you're leaving your job.
Resignation.
Yeah, letter
Yeah.
of resignation. I didn't put in the 2 weeks. I put in effective immediately, and I signed out, and that was my last day on the job on July 15th of 2022. Around that time, that was coming off of me just going through a very, very hard mental state as far as like mental health, because I had been working from home for the last 2 year or 2.5 years, going through the pandemic and everything. So just mentally, I wasn't in the best place. And sometimes when you're left to your own devices and you're isolated and you at home, man, you really start to see things for what it is. So I was no longer distracted by like going in the office and going through the motions of like just the corporate thing, like those things, the company culture that they'll feed you, that'll keep you going. So I started to see things for what it really was, and just figured that, man, I had more value to offer my company than that they were willing to allow me to actually offer them on a daily basis. So I worked for a really good company. The thing is about really good companies is a lot of older people that are older in their careers and things like that, further along in their careers. They've reached the level to where they're content in their positions. So, like someone like me who's trying to enter into leadership, trying to enter into management, a young educated guy who's competing against all of these long-term employees that may or may not have the same qualifications or education as me. I found myself fighting against all of that, and the track for me at my company, it wasn't looking promising within the next few years. I mean, I dedicated 3 years to them. I thought that I would be moving up within the next 2 years. But after conversations with different managers and things like that, I started to see that door slowly but surely close. And when I started to look around at the people in my department, nothing against them, beautiful and great people, but I just saw that I was surrounded by people that weren't thinking like me. So whenever you're in a situation like that, anyone who's watching this, you have to make a change. Sometimes it's going to be drastic, sometimes it's going to be a little at a time. Me, I'm more extreme, so put in my letter of resignation. Um, and I've started doing this full time. Without being long-winded, over the next month, um, or the next months, I got notification that my father, who was in prison long term, had passed away from prostate cancer. Um, and that was it had been some time since I actually had spoken to him. So that happened, and I didn't get any closure. Um, and that really just it really took a toll on me mentally. And I was approaching my 30th birthday that August. So I was kind of at like that quarter. It was kind of like a mini quarter life crisis or something like that. Sort of say, but yeah, I mean that was all going on, but I decided to take things into my own hands, man. And one of those things was actually booking a trip to go to Africa. And I went backpacking in Africa for about 2.5 weeks or so alone. I left my family, my woman and my child was here, man, but I just needed something that was a little bit that was gonna be fulfilling, something that was gonna mark this new chapter off the right way. I was at one of those positions where I was counting my coins and I was at the job, and this is before I had determined that I was going to actually leave. I was telling myself that I couldn't afford it and just going through the ringer and just having all of those thoughts as like a person, a leader as a household, a provider. And it's really real when you start to talk about us as men and us having provider anxiety and things like that, man. So just I hope that kind of explained to everybody the mental state that I was in. But I went to Africa, man. I had a beautiful time. It was my first time over on the continent. Met a lot of great people, man, and it was just refreshing. It was really refreshing, man. I did a lot of soul searching there. It gave me some time to decompress, to re-strategize, and to come back at this thing full throttle, man. So ever since I got back, I've been developing sessions, and we've been beating the drum for everything sessions and Tez Lotto, which is my cannabis moniker. I'm also involved in legal cannabis because I am in the state of Virginia. So we're doing some work in the legal cannabis space as well. So
Tez, I love that, man. I thank you for the transparency. I want to offer my condolences to you and the family. I definitely, as somebody who experienced some loss at the beginning of the year, it was tough, and I definitely do understand. Just a lot going on, just a lot happening. And then the following month, and I lost my grandfather in January, and then his birthday was just this past month in February. So yeah, so no, I definitely do. Definitely a different situation, but nonetheless, I can understand that mindset, that mental, that just having to take a step back. But I really want to even go a little earlier in your answer, and I love what you said, but I definitely think you spoke to a lot of people out there. So I want to make sure that I highlight it so that they understand that you said that you were in a great position, you were doing good things, you were around beautiful people, everything of the sort, but you said it just wasn't for Tez. What may work for someone else, what may just be, even sometimes it doesn't even work for people, but I think you said it best too. They just become so content and they become so comfortable and they get in these positions and they get long term. And it's just a thing of, well, why, take a step back? Why have to start from scratch? Why have to rebuild? Because nobody likes going back to update resumes and do different things like that. Nobody likes to really put themselves open to work and all this LinkedIn and I'm searching and everything like that. It's definitely a humbling process, and it can almost be, just painstaking sometimes. But I also think that you made an important decision in just recognizing you, Tez. You took a step back. You did a lot of internal and self-reflection, and that's not always the easiest thing, especially with the decisions and what things come out of it. Sometimes we have to do some prayers. Sometimes we have to do some backpacking. Sometimes we have to really just do some self-reflection, take some L's, really be at our lowest point. for us to really dig deep and really figure out, what's going to work and how can we propel ourselves moving forward. So the fact that you said I'm not taking 2 weeks, I'm effective immediately. That's a risk. That's definitely a leap of faith, and I definitely do think that it played out for you very well. But I think it played out for you very well, not even by luck or by chance, but because of how intentional you were. Like you said, you make very strategic decisions. You love that pressure because it builds those diamonds for you. It definitely does allow more to come from it. So the fact that you've been able to do all of this since July, experience what you experienced in August, go through your 30th year, which happy belated birthday to you, my brother. That's definitely a great
Thank
milestone to be achieved. But then the fact that you were able to go back to the motherland and really just experience, really just be in the moment. As somebody who has never been to Africa, but I talked to my uncle so much about just how many times he's gone and just the things that he's been able to see, the experiences that he's been able to have, just sometimes how he can't even capture pictures and videos of everything because he's really just living in the moment, really just
you. Yeah.
enjoying himself. So I can understand that, your experience really had to be beautiful from start to finish, but nonetheless, you used all of that. You took everything that was going on around you, everything that you were experiencing, thinking, feeling, going through, and you came back and like you said, you beat the drum, you hit things full throttle, you really made it happen. And I feel like, bro, that's just amazing, just to think about the turnaround time, just to think about when things really weren't looking the brightest for you, just to think about when sometimes you may have woken up and like you said, between counting coins and just trying to figure out what you were doing, some days kind of put themselves together. Some days you may have not have necessarily done everything that you wanted to do or felt like you were making progress towards the goal, but nonetheless you live to fight another day. So I love that, bro. So now as we, fast forward through this transition, as we think about everything that you've gone through, everything that you've had to experience, had to kind of have rebound from, and then still thinking about the family, still thinking about the balance that you have to have in that regard and still be Tez, now that you're back, now that you, like you said, you've kind of hit things full throttle and you've only almost kind of intertwined things with Tez Lotto. What's some of the next steps for you? What are you thinking as far as with being with Sessions and being somewhere like Virginia where you can kind of combine and immerse the two a little bit?
So looking forward, um, I really want to leverage sessions and our already existing brand identity, to further our space in like the, I guess you could say, kind of the cannabis or cannabis adjacent industries like rolling papers. Um, and really move into that space here, since I am in Virginia and I'm going to be here long term. This is where my family is now. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I mean, there's a lot of different strategic things that we're thinking about doing. But for the most part, it's all going to be related around, just carving out our piece of the industry, as far as just being a black owned company that's offering a rolling paper and different boutique smokable products and things like that. So we already have products that we're going to be rolling out over the next couple of years. We've already formalized those things. And Sessions, just a little backstory about Sessions. We've been doing this since 2011. It started as a blog with me and my best friend Tom. So a lot of the things that we're unfolding right now, that we're rolling out, like the rolling papers, this is stuff that we've, just stuff as college students that you dream about, and you have those one-off conversations and things like that when you're just dreaming amongst your friends. I'm one of those people. Whenever we formulate a good idea or a dream or something that I could see actually happening, and something that's so us, like a rolling paper. If like a rolling paper, for us to have a rolling paper, it's on brand, man. If you know me and my friends, personally, everybody who's watching this, we're, I guess I wouldn't say quote unquote stoners, but we have always been enthusiastic about cannabis and using cannabis recreationally and things like that. So we kind of took that, and like our ability to create like friendships and build relationships and just have this creative bubble that we call sessions. And we kind of start using that to leverage actual products and offer them to the marketplace. So in the future, man, we have some strategic things going on and ideas, such as other products that we're going to offer. But it's really a blank canvas, because we're true creatives over at Sessions, man. So like, we're looking into things as far as like branding consulting, strategic partnerships with different brands as well. And helping people paint their stories also. So we see the value that we have as sessions, but we see the value that we can add to other companies as well. And that's one of the things that we're going to be looking into also. um, but yeah, man, just a lot of spitballing, man. Honestly, we that's kind of how we work, man. We brainstorm, we come up with good ideas that we can believe in, stuff that's on brand and that we can put our time, effort, and money into, that'll, that we can see a really good return in, and we just kind of go for it, man. Everything is really, it's a lot of strategy behind it, man, but a lot of stuff comes from us dreaming and just filling things out, man. So that's kind of where we're headed, man. But ultimately, I really want to be in the legal cannabis game here, and carve out our share of the marketplace.
Got you. No, that's very interesting, man. I definitely do think with even more so learning more about this industry myself and really realizing that, it can also depend where you are, whether it's legalized, whether it's decriminalized, whether it's recreation, whether it's just medicinal, everything like that, man. I've definitely been somebody who it's been interesting just being in different places, traveling to different spaces, being in dispensaries, having conversations with people in these industries, having conversations with people who have immersed themselves in these industries and been able to brand themselves as a result. So I love that. And you kind of almost led me into like my next question or my next thought per se. And that's to kind of think about, like you said, your friend group kind of growing up and even moving into like that college lifestyle. And even after that, you've always been enthusiastic about it. You've always been kind of trying to find one to, like you said, find your space and your place within this industry. So do you also feel like with relocating to Virginia, it kind of propelled things more for you? Do you think that this brand or this business idea or sessions or even Teslato would have been kind of different depending on where you were based off of if it was legalized or if it was decriminalized? Or do you think you may have taken a step back or maybe even immersed yourself in a different industry had you may have ended up somewhere else? Or are you a firm believer that, no matter where you ended up, no matter what you were doing, eventually this was going to be born, this was going to be happening? Like you said, you really wanted to be able to foster this community for others.
I can definitely say that, yes, if I lived in a different place, then yeah, it would I would probably have been in a totally different direction. I think being in the cannabis friendly state and with the legalization of cannabis coming to Virginia, it really was just an alley oop for us to get all of this underway, man. I've been enthusiastic about cannabis for a long time. I'm originally from Missouri, very conservative state, man, and not so cannabis friendly. But as we look across the country and we see legal cannabis coming into play and we see the legal cannabis industry being built out, man, I've always had that glimmer of hope that at some point in time in my life that I was gonna actually transition into this type of work. Always knew long term that when federal legalization came, even if it didn't, if we didn't have legalization in my home state wherever I was, whenever that federal legalization hits, I knew that I was gonna try to put my chips in and go into the cannabis industry. So even if that meant me actually working for an already established company and coming in on the corporate side and using all of my skills and transitioning to the cannabis industry and going that route, or if it's doing something like I'm doing now where it's all entrepreneurship, we're building it from the ground up, starting grassroots, and bringing different products to market, and just kind of making my way around the actual local cannabis community here, and establishing my footprint. So yeah, I would have definitely been on a different track had I been in a more conservative state or somewhere that wasn't cannabis friendly, man. Because ultimately, I don't want to be in a place to where I have to live a double life anymore. That's one of the things that I told myself when I was leaving my last position, that I want to live 100% holistically as Tez. Some people may know me as Durantes and all of the formal names and position titles and things like that, man. But my life outside of those 8 hours has always been Tez. It's always been sessions. It's always been entrepreneur, ambition, a dreamer, a fervent leader. That's always been my position. And I feel like during those 8 hours and like going into the corporate space, I feel like you have to show up as your job title or whatever is going to be success, allow you to be successful in that arena. And oftentimes I feel like as Black Americans, or just or just people in general in the workforce, man, we're not showing up as our full selves because the industry or the space that we're going into, it just doesn't allow for that. No matter how much these companies promote that they want you to show up as your full self, I strongly believe and I know that a lot of this things that I offer off the record and outside of the corporate space, it just probably wouldn't mesh well for big corporate finance and investing. Like who like it's not commonplace to have a money manager that openly uses cannabis, no matter if it's legal or not. And certain things like that, man. But I'm trying to live this life now to where I'm normalizing me and everything that I do because I'm not hurting anyone. My intentions are well. I'm all about peace, love, prosperity, man, and that's my life. So I shouldn't have to feel bad or I shouldn't have to hide things that are a part of me, man. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
I love that, man. The true authentic self is unlike any other, man. And having to feel like, with anything that you have to walk on eggshells or censor yourself or be one person this half of the day and then eventually put on a different hat when you leave, man, it can definitely be uncomfortable. It can definitely be exhausting. And sometimes it's just unnecessary. Like you said, when you really just want to live things on your own terms, you have your own passions, you have your own ideals, you have your own even community of like-minded individuals who understand like that and operate like that, whether it's specifically like you or whether it may even be just in their own industries and in their own endeavors. Man, I think that makes things so much better. So, and like you said, just thinking about being in different places, thinking about how some could be conservative or less cannabis friendly or less open-minded or less willing to adopt these different principles and things like that. What has been most eye-opening to you with entering into this industry? Like you said, you've been an enthusiast for as long as you can remember. You've surrounded yourself with enthusiasts, just the same you guys have from the Tumblr days. I was even looking on the website to even now, just having different ideas, just having different passions and hobbies like that. What are some things that, stepping in may not have been what you thought it was, or you may have even had to learn some things, or maybe even some myths or stereotypes that came along the way. But what are some things that have definitely been some eye-opening and learning experiences for you?
One, I would say one of the biggest eye-opening experiences for me is just being a full-time entrepreneur and transitioning is the ability to sustain yourself using the gifts that God has given you. So I think a lot of times we attach ourselves to security. So having the security of having a operation that's already going, they have everything lined out for you and insert yourself in that. And if you do well, you receive benefits, you receive income, all of that security, it's kind of hard to let that go. Um, but one thing that was eye opening for me was the ability to generate income still without that system. So it may be different for everyone. Entrepreneurship isn't for everyone. Everyone aren't staunch business people, and they're not thinking of things strategically and in numbers and ways to actually generate like profit margins to will it to where everything will be self-sustainable. But for the people who have that in them, that's one of the things that I can let you know that once you get stuff rolling and you get some motion, you'll be surprised at your ability to generate income, and then you'll start to compare the amount of income that you can make in a day, in a week as an entrepreneur, and you'll compare it to what you were doing 8 hours on the clock, and you'll start to look like, man, I've made multiple times the amount of money for fractions of the fractions of the time being spent and the effort being spent. So that's one of the most eye-opening things. There is just the ability to sustain yourself. And if you put you put your effort, your time into things, man, and you wake up and you go out to get it, after a while it's going to be a hard transition, but after a while, once you get that motion going, man, hey, that energy is hard to be stopped, man. And I'm at a position now where I'm starting to see that, man, and we're almost a year later. The first couple of months was not rough. I was not seeing any income. I did set myself up since I was a banker, a finance guy. I did set myself up to have savings, to be able to do that. So it's not just like, oh, I just quit my job, didn't have no money. I've been strategically setting myself up to do this my whole life and like just everything is geared towards me working for myself. I think that's where I've always saw myself as, and I grew up kind of with an entrepreneurial spirit and just hustling and things like that, man. So I've always kept like a good cushion, just because, man. Honestly, in this world, you never know. I could have very well woke up one day and they said, "Hey, man, we're getting rid of your position. AI is a thing now. They have different technological capabilities to where people in the position that I was in, like money management and customer service, well, shareholder services and things like that, man, there is technology that's on its way that's being set up to replace people in my position, man. So that I could have very well been out of a job still. So I'm glad I took the step. Another thing, and just without being too long winded, another thing is just going into the cannabis industry overall, man, was just the amount of love and the amount of sincerity that people had in the cannabis space. I'm so used to cutthroat business, finance, black and white numbers and things like that, man, that I kind of developed like a callus, and I developed like a defense, when entering into meetings and negotiating and things like that. Very by the book, no nonsense type of money manager guy. That's kind of my persona in the corporate world. But I was able to receive love, give love, and also offer up that other part of myself and see that people actually valued it and just see the value that I offer to the space, come back to me either through financial gain, connections, or just having the mental freedom to actually do whatever I want to, man. Like it's just amazing the amount of freedom. And then the third big thing, man, that's eye opening and moving into entrepreneurship is the relationships that I've been able to cater with those closest to me. So I spend so much time with my daughter now, man. My daughter isn't in school yet, so she's ramping up to go to kindergarten and stuff like that. So she's with me on a daily basis. Normally, we'd be dropping her off in the morning as we're heading off to work, me and my partner, and she'd spend the most of her days with either my mother or my sister. So just being able to dial things back, create and develop that bond more with my daughter has just been amazing. Her vocabulary, just seeing her vocabulary increase, man, substantially. Talking to her as if she's a person and being able to curate the things around her and being able to actually guide her and become friends with her, rather than just being a parent. Like me and my daughter are friends. She's 4 years old, man, but we are the best of friends. Like, and that's been so amazing. Also developing further relationship with my partner as a whole, having the time to be with together, and talk and have those deep conversations and to develop that relationship on a different level, man, mentally, spiritually, physically, just going into all those different avenues and being able to have the time to where I can focus on it, look at it for what it is, and strategically approach it a different way so that I can build something that's going to last for years to come, man. And that's been amazing. So that those are the big three things, man. And number four, just the amount of, I said that was my last one, but number four, the amount of mental anguish and just stress that has been lifted, man, since day one of quitting my job. It's been life changing. I've seen medical conditions go away due to not having stress. I've been able to manage certain habits, certain negative habits that I have in my spare time. I've been able to manage those things a lot more and approach those things differently and kind of have that self assessment and that reflection period, man. And just it's just, man, that's those all of those things together, man, has just been done a world of good to me,
And I hear it, man. I almost want to kind of, I wish we could almost do a compare and contrast. I probably think about a conversation that, if we would have talked to Tez maybe last July, maybe last June, even last summer and things like that, this may have been a totally different mind state. This may have been a totally different person, may have just been, going through different things and everything. But just think about all that has happened to you in 6, 7 months, 8 months almost. And it's just like, it's crazy just to hear, that transformation. I'm sure with you, you see it firsthand, like you said, just from the relationship you've been able to build with family, to community, to your partner, to everything, man. It's definitely just, it sounds like it's truly been a breath of fresh air for you, man. So one, I commend you just for being able to make that decision, just for being able to make those decisions for yourself, for people around you, to be able to foster this community, build this empire, set this foundation the right way, the Tez way, man. I think that that is so important, man. And I'm happy for you, just in hearing you speak about it, just in hearing you kind of just detail everything and what you're doing, man. I can tell you're definitely in a different space, in a different place. So I love that a lot. So before I get into the social media and where everybody can find you and everything like that, because like I said, I know I have some people that are going to want to tap in, especially in the DMV area. Do you feel like there's anything, we have not touched on today, any even last words that you want to leave for other business owners, other entrepreneurs, other even 9 to 5s, creatives, whatever have you out there, people who may be looking to get into this industry, people who may just be able to may just be looking to really get their start, really just for some motivation, really just recognizing that, things may not be going their way. So do you feel like, throughout this interview, there's anything that we haven't touched on that you want to leave the people with?
Um, Specifically, one thing I do want to circle back to and just kind of hit home, hammer in for people is taking control of your mental health. So therapy and healing from your trauma and identifying like your triggers and your bad habits and things like that, mentally and emotionally and just holistically, man, just that is one of the most important things that you can invest in time wise and monetarily, because therapy and things like that is not cheap. But if you have the ability to get a therapist and to invest in your mental health, I would encourage you to do that. I'd implore you to do that. There's also a lot of free things that you can do. So a lot of things that have helped me along the journey have been just different wellness practices such as meditation. I do a lot of yoga. I do a lot of walking. I'm a walker. I ride my bike a lot, so I actually get outside. I do a lot of sun time and just getting out, man, and that has done the world of good to me, man. But as far as on the entrepreneur tip, I want to let people know that it's possible. Whatever dream that you have is possible. Just start from baseline idea concept and just build it all the way out. There's a world of resources on the internet and people around you. So it's possible, man. Just start. That'll be the best thing that you can do for yourself is to start and set yourself up to win. So as I'm explaining my story and things like that, I don't want people to just feel like that they can go out on the whim and just go out on faith, which you can. But me, from a strategic aspect and me being a money manager, I would not encourage you to do so. So set yourself up to win. If that means saving up and then building out your timeline to where you'll fully transition, letting the people know around you that you will be transitioning so that they can start to get ready and mentally prepare for that, to support you. Just prepare. I will say that. Go ahead and prepare. And yeah, man. But I appreciate you coming on, man, and just thank you so much for the platform and us being able to have this conversation.
Thanks, bro. Nah, I thank you, man. I think you. One, it's not always easy for as men to have conversations. As two, for men to have transparent conversations and really just reveal things about them and about what they went through, and saying, even offering the mental health things. I feel like that's definitely a slippery slope to walk on within our community, and it really doesn't have to be that way. And it's really just something that I think the more we lean to embrace it and understand it and recognize that everybody is fighting some sort of battle, the easier it'll be for us to just start to attack that, start to approach it. I'm not saying you have to just go and get everything handled and just talk and just lay it all out on the line, but you definitely do have to start somewhere. I think we all do have that with us. So no, bro, as much as you extend your thanks and gratitude, I extend it tenfold back to you, and I'm definitely wishing Sessions, Teslotto, all of that, nothing but the ultimate success. And we tapped in now, we locked in now. So however I can support along the way and everything, we will definitely be doing so from the down to business perspective. So before we officially close out, before we wrap this up, I just want everybody the chance and the opportunity to be able to find you, connect with you, and everything like that. So what are the best places, whether it be the website, social media, anything like that, to reach you and what you guys have going on with Sessions?
Oh yeah, so definitely tap in with this www.sessionslifestyle.com. That'll be the place where you can cop the S1, our premium hemp rolling papers, unrefined, unbleached, man, eco-friendly. They're a nice, really nice paper, man. If you want to smoke in style and smoke a little bit healthier, for all those people who like to use tobacco products, it's kind of been one of my thing I've been trying to sell to the people in my community is that there's healthier ways to consume the plant. Um, but yeah, also tap in with me on LinkedIn for one. You can find me at my full name, Durontez, Durontez. It's a mouthful, Washington. So tap in with me, Durontez Washington on LinkedIn. And then on all social media platforms, you can find us at sessions.co and then Tez Lotto. Tezlato on all social medias. That's my personal handle, and just tap in. I'm open to conversations always. People who need advice, if you just want to talk, hit some things back and forth, man. I'm always down to build with people who need advice, man. I'm sincere. I'm true to my word, man. So anyone who wants to reach out, they feel like they can use me as a resource, feel free to get in contact with me. And anyone who's looking for like distribution for retail stores and things like that, if you'd like to carry our papers there, and feel like there's something that we can offer your business and offer your clientele, definitely reach out to me, and we can definitely talk the numbers and get everything done on the distribution side because we are currently doing self distribution right now. But yeah.
I love that, man. Thank you so much for offering yourself as a resource to me, my audience, and everything like that. And I definitely do encourage everyone who listens, who taps in. You know, time and time again, we see so many different business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives come on and do that. And I really encourage you to not take that lightly because these are people, you know, who have been there, who have done that, who are still being there and doing that. So definitely, you know, however you can pick their brain and tap their expertise and their knowledge, I definitely do. You know, that's a free opportunity for you to be able to do so. So definitely will be reaching out to you too because I have an idea for something I want to do next month. So we'll definitely chat
Oh yeah.
offline and everything like that. We have contact information, so we'll be good. But no, Tez, like I said, thank you so much. One, just for the transparency, just for the vulnerability, but I thank you just really for the blessings and the lessons you gave us today, man. Definitely just painted a picture for all of us out there that you know there's going to be struggle, there's going to be trials and tribulations, there's going to be roadblock and obstacles, but it's all about you know ultimately you. How do you respond to that? How do you reflect on that? How do you make the decisions for you, your communities, your family, the foundation, whatever have you, whatever motivates you and keeps you going? So, no, man, thank you again. Definitely wishing Tez Lotto, definitely wishing Sessions all the best and all the luck. And to everyone out there, you know, who continuously taps in with the podcast, who shows us love, who makes things happen. We appreciate you. We're definitely looking forward to getting some live events churning this year. We're just working out some logistics. So definitely just stick with us. But this has been another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner.